All right, let's talk about something that can literally make or break a business: commercial risk. We're going to break down how really understanding it helps you bid a whole lot smarter, not just harder. You've seen it happen, right? A project looks perfect on paper, but then it just spirals out of control. Suddenly there are delays, costs are blowing up, and everyone's frustrated. So why is this so common? Well, more often than not, the problems were there from the very beginning, baked into a bid that just didn't get the real commercial risks involved. I want you to picture every tender you bid on as a minefield. Seriously, it's full of hidden dangers that can blow up your budget, your timeline, your reputation. A solid commercial risk assessment that isn't about avoiding the field, it's about having the map that shows you exactly where to step to find the safest, most profitable path through it all. So what exactly are we mapping here? At its heart, commercial risk is just the chance that a contract goes sideways. It could cost you more than you planned, deliver less than you promised, or, worse of all, damage your company's good name. It's that gap between the dream project you bid on and the nightmare it could become.
Okay, so we know what it is, but how do you actually spot it before it's too late? Let's build out your assessment toolkit and break down the key risk factors you absolutely have to have on your radar.
These are the big 8. Think of this as your pre-flight checklist before you even think about putting a price on paper. Now, any one of these can trip you up, for sure, but we're going to zoom in on 3 that are the absolute bedrock of any bid: the project scope, how you estimate your costs, and of course, the client themselves. First up, and you could argue it's the foundation for everything, is just how clear the scope and the specifications are. You know, if this part is shaky, the entire project is basically being built on quicksand. And this gets right to the heart of it. Vague tender documents are a massive flashing red flag. Anytime there's ambiguity about what the client actually wants, it becomes a breeding ground for scope creep, for endless change orders, and for arguments over what was really included in your price. It's a direct line to watching your profit margin vanish. Next, let's talk about money. Even if you have a perfectly defined scope, your cost estimation is its own beast. Are your material costs all over the place right now? Is there a labor shortage in your area? And maybe most importantly, what kind of buffer have you actually built in for when things go wrong? Because they will.
Now get this, some studies show that a lot of firms are only baking in a 1 to 3% risk margin. Just think about that for a second. With a buffer that razor thin, one single unexpected problem, a delayed shipment, an issue with a sub, can completely wipe out your entire profit on the job.
Okay, so your scope is crystal clear, your numbers are solid, you're safe, right? Not so fast. There's another huge variable in this whole equation: the client. The risk doesn't just come from the work itself, it can come straight from the people who are paying for it. This means you have to be asking some tough questions before you even think about signing. Does this client have a history of paying late? Is their funding actually secure? Are they known for changing their minds every other week? A difficult client can turn a profitable project into a cash flow nightmare, and they can do it fast. Now, we've hit the big 3, but you can't sleep on these other areas. You got to look at the contract terms. Are they trying to dump all the liability on you? What about the supply chain? Could a parts delay or a labor shortage completely wreck your timeline? And what about the site itself? Are there hidden issues just waiting to be discovered? Any one of these can sink an otherwise great project. So, identifying these risks is just step 1. That's the assessment part. Now for the crucial bit. How do you take all that knowledge and turn it into real-world action that shapes your biggest decisions? The process is actually pretty simple, but it's incredibly powerful. First, you assess all those risks we talked about. Then, that assessment directly informs your pricing strategy, like how big of a contingency do you need? And finally, that price helps you make the ultimate call. Do we bid or do we walk away? It really all boils down to 2 different ways of thinking. The risky bet is just a race to the bottom. It's all about having the lowest price, ignoring the red flags, and just hoping for the best. But the smart bid? That's a whole different game. It's driven by value, it accounts for the risks, it protects its margin, and it plans for what could go wrong. And here's a really powerful idea. Don't hide your risk assessment. Actually including a clear risk plan right in your tender shows you're a professional. It tells the client, hey, we've done our homework, we get the challenges, and we're a credible partner, not just some gambler rolling the dice and hoping for a win. So let's bring this all home. What's the big payoff for doing all this extra work? Well, it's about a fundamental shift in your entire strategy. It's about bidding smarter by choosing the right projects, not just chasing down every single one you see. If you take anything away today, let it be these 4 points. 1. Always define the risk before you define the price. 2. Your profit margin has to reflect the amount of risk you're taking on. 3, and this one is huge, sometimes the absolute smartest business decision is to not bid at all. And finally, 4, focus your energy on the jobs that actually play to your strengths.
And that really leaves us with one last thing to think about. After everything we've talked about, the hidden costs, the vague clients, the paper-thin margins, you have to ask yourself, is the lowest bid ever really the smartest bid? Something to chew on the next time a tender lands on your desk. Thanks for joining this explainer.